Hi, my name is Gill. Today we're going to be working on postures for the low back. Before we dive into the asana portion, I think it's really important that we focus a little bit on the body and our posture, specifically in the pelvis region. So if you are suffering from low back pain, it could be a multitude of things. But one thing that I always like to talk about is the pelvis, the anterior versus the posterior tilt. And one thing that might really be helpful for you is if you actually look at how you might be standing, checking that your feet aren't turned out too much, or you have one foot turned out, or you're popping a hip to the side. Another thing that's really important is a lot of people lock their knees when they stand, and then this forces us to disengage our glutes and leaving the pelvis and the low back unprotected. Now, when I'm talking about the pelvis specifically, so if I turn to the side, we want to make sure that while we're practicing yoga and even while we're standing, it's going to take a lot more work and you'll have to consciously think about it all the time, but it will be helpful to know that you need to keep a neutral pelvis. So when I talk about the pelvis tilting forward, this is an anterior tilt. My hip bones are pushing a little further forward than my tailbone versus neutral versus a posterior tilt where my tailbone's a little further forward than my hip bones. When we move into forward folds, it's important that we access that anterior tilt. If you're really tight in your low back or your hips, you might be trying to enter a forward fold from here, and that's basically impossible. And I'll just demo that really quickly with a child's pose. So if I'm hinging forward in a child's pose, I found an anterior tilt in my pelvis and I'm able to hinge down. Whereas if I found a posterior tilt like this, and then I tried to hinge forward, it's physically impossible. So we're gonna start on our belly. So we call this a prone position. And I wanna make sure that you really lengthen out through the front of the hips, tuck your left toes under, walk your left hip back, and then do that with the right side. So tuck and walk it back. Then you can untuck again. And then we'll draw the arms down by the sides. Forehead can rest down. Make sure you activate the belly up into the spine. So we're not just completely disengaging. You can feel the belly pull in and up. Then root down through the top of your right foot and inhale to lift your left leg up as high as you can. You can point your toes. Remember to breathe. Think about firing the portion between your glute and your hamstring up as much as you can. Trying to keep your breath even. See if you can lift up even higher. Again, really rooting down through the opposite foot. And then go ahead and release it down. You can drop one cheek down, wiggle your bum side to side to help release any tension in your low back. And then we'll take the same position, opposite foot, sending your tailbone down, activating your belly, activating your glutes, and we'll lift the right leg up. So this actually can be quite a lot of work, remembering to breathe. Now we're not rotating the hip open, try to keep the pelvis nice and neutral. Another reason why you might be experiencing a lot of low back discomfort is because you haven't strengthened it. Again, try to lift a little bit higher and then exhale to release. Wiggle it out, drop one cheek down. Okay, then we'll try to bring the arms down beside the low ribs, squeezing the shoulder blades together, the elbows pull together, press the tops of the feet down, belly in, and we'll lift up into cobra pose. So watch that your shoulders don't start to creep up towards your ears. And then another thing that happens here is we hyperextend through the arms. So really bend into the elbows. Shoulders roll together and down your back. Belly pulls in, and then you should be able to have a little range of motion through the arms here. Breathing, activation, really pressing firmly through the tops of your feet. If it feels okay, go ahead and open through the front line of your neck. Even if you're somewhere like this to begin, this might be a little bit more advanced. Just knowing where you feel comfortable. Good news about this is it's also going to activate your shoulders and your triceps. Taking one more inhale here. Exhale, slowly lower. You can bend your knees, drop your feet side to side. When you're ready, pop onto your back. We'll hug the knees into the chest, kind of decompressing through those back bends. So when you lay down on your belly and you work against gravity, you're going to be firing up the back line or the posterior chain, working on strengthening through the back side. But another really important component of low back pain is making sure that you have activation through the front as well. So if when you're on your back, I want you to push your knees away from you until they come directly over your hips. So if they're too close in, you actually won't be working your core as much as I want you to. And then you can reach your arms up. Right arm can come back, left heel can come down. And inhale to lift. And we'll switch legs. Good. Now what you want to try to work on is lengthening your low back into the earth. Not so much that you're really forcing yourself into a curved low back, but enough that you can feel it engaging so you're not doing this opening up through the lumbar spine too much. So arms reach up. We'll take one leg back, one arm back. Again, think about firing your low back into the mat. You can make this more advanced by lifting your shoulders up. You can extend your legs straight. Remember to breathe. You might be shaking a little bit. We'll take one more here. And hug your knees into your chest. So you can repeat those as much as you like. And then come up to a seated position. All right, so remember when I was talking about the child's pose and the hinging forward? So if you're in a seated position and you want to fold forward for Paschimottanasana or seated forward fold, but you're so tight here that you have a, let's call it a kyphotic curve in your lumbar spine, is really tough to hinge. Like there's no way I'm reaching my toes. So we want to promote that anterior tilt first. One of two ways you can do that. First is you can bend your knees. So that's gonna help you to pull the hip bones forward and then you can hinge. Or if you have something like a pillow at home or a blanket that you can prop underneath your bum, that's gonna give your hips a little bit more of an advantage. I'm gonna do it with bent knees because I don't have any props. Lifting through your heart, pulling your low ribs towards your hip bones. Big inhale. And then as you exhale, core pulls in as you hinge forward, reaching for your feet. Then once you have that, they're allowing the belly to press towards the thighs. Think about dragging your feet towards you so the shoulder blades pull together, heart comes forward. Take another inhale here. And then as you exhale, pull yourself further forward. We'll start with about 3 to 5 breaths like this. This is just giving your sacrum and your low back an opportunity to broaden, to create some space there, to recognize what you're doing before you go a little bit further. And then when you're ready, you can let your feet scooch a little further away if you have the ability to do that. Otherwise, keep your knees bent. What I don't want to see is any hyperextended legs. So when your legs are so straight that your heels lift up off the ground, okay? So you might be somewhere in this position. You can also use a strap or a sock around your feet to hinge forward. 3 more breaths. Again, you can repeat this posture as many times as you like. Activate core, inhale to rise. We're gonna move into my favorite low back stretch. So I'll turn a little bit to the side here, bringing one foot into your thigh. And we're not gonna twist to open this way like you might think. We're actually gonna twist the opposite direction. So take an inhale, and as you exhale, twist away from your bent knee, gaze behind your shoulder. So we're focusing on the twist first, pulling your belly in, and then as you exhale, slowly start to hinge, reaching for the outer edge of your foot. Now, if you have a hard time reaching for your foot, bend your knee more. Okay, so that's just gonna make it a little bit more accessible. Otherwise, you're here, you're working on your twist, and then as you find more depth, you can bend into your elbow so you can hinge down as well. Watch that this hand isn't dragging the knee inward, okay? So you wanna make sure that the kneecap points straight up, twisting and hinging. So I feel a nice big stretch all the way down my back body on the opposite side. Good, activate core. Inhale to unravel, we'll switch legs. So now you can see it from the other direction. Big full breath in. As you exhale, twist away from your bent knee, past your shoulder, gazing behind you. You can take this hand wherever it feels comfortable for you, and then reaching for the outer edge of the opposite foot. So like I said, you're gonna feel this stretch all the way down the outer line. So right now I'm twisting to the right, and I feel this on my left side. Remember to breathe. What's really great is a lot of the times when we're stretching our low back, we're also going to receive a really nice hamstring stretch as well. So usually a hamstring stretch and low back stretch are going to come from the same postures. Last breath in. Exhale a little deeper. And inhale, unravel nice and slow. All right, last posture, we're gonna lay down onto our back, and we're really gonna break down just the basic supine twist, because this is often a posture that I see done pretty incorrectly and most likely putting a lot more pressure on your low back than I'd love for you to have. So when we come to our spines and I ask you to pull your knees into your chest, most people will do that and then they'll let their knees drop down to one side. Right now, this is putting a ton of pressure on my low spine, but I want you to check out the angle. Look how far away my knees are from me, okay? And then, I don't know if you can see this, but my heels are very close to my bum as well. So what I'd rather see from you is you pulling your knees into your chest, and then they stay nice and close as they drop to the opposite side. Oh, see, already my back just cracked and it felt really good. Then I'm gonna push my elbows into the mat to shift my upper body towards the right a little bit more, trying to broaden both shoulder blades down onto the ground. My feet are not close to my bum. They're a little bit further away, think like 90 degrees. And then when you're ready, you can twist towards the opposite direction. A couple ways you can support yourself here. You can put a pillow underneath your knees or a soft block. Or opposite side, you can drop a block or pillow under your top shoulder and allow that to settle down, unless you're able to rest both equally and fully. And then we'll activate core, inhale to come back through center, and we'll switch sides. If you want to help yourself out a little further, you can drop your feet, pick up your bum, shift it to the opposite side of the mat, then pull your knees in and let them fall towards the opposite direction. Some people like to take their hand and place it on top of their knee, or you can cross one leg over the other. So there's lots of ways you can play with just a simple twist, but sometimes doing the most basic feels the most supportive and the best. Again, stay here as long as you like. Maybe closing your eyes, really enjoying the stretch. And then we'll come back through center. When you're ready, hug your knees in one more time. That was your 15-minute practice for your low back. If there's anything else you want to work on or see me break down, drop it in the comments below, and have a great day.